What's the crack, lads? In today's video we'll be talking about movement techniques in Warzone. From running, the fastest way to run the map, you might be surprised by that one. Sliding, crouching, jumping, windows, doors, we'll go through it all in depth. I believe anyone from a beginner to an advanced player might learn something from this video. I'm going to keep the intro short because it's a longer video, but if you learned something, hit that like button. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Before we start that, you want to go into your options and change a few settings real quick. The button layout preset, the first one on the list, if you change that to tactical from default, all you have to do is click in your right analog stick to crouch instead of hitting circle. That's on PlayStation now, it'll be different on Xbox and PC. You also want to go down to slide behavior. If you change that to tap, then instead of having to hold the crouch button to slide, you just have to tap it, and you will use that a lot. I'll just put that back. Right, left analog stick on the controller, push it forward to walk. The further you press it, the faster you walk, so you can control that. Click in the left analog stick to run. Double click to do a tactical sprint. I see a lot of people didn't actually know this. So once you're running, you can go from a standstill to a tactical sprint. Double tap real quick, straight in. Now you can't shoot while you're in a tactical sprint. So if you think there's an enemy around the corner, don't tactical sprint, just run. Another handy thing, if you've changed those settings, is the fastest way to move around the map is to tactical sprint, and when that runs out, you can't redo it again. So if you're in Warzone, you're running the whole map, you're stuck going this speed. So if you just slide, ADS, and tactical sprint again. And you can run across the map basically with tactical sprint. This is actually faster. If you've got a pistol in your hand and you're doing this, it's actually faster than running with just your bare fists. I'm just catching you.
Well, it is faster, I think.
Yeah. Oh my god. Another good thing about doing this tactic is you're much harder to shoot when you're doing it. So if you click in your right analog stick, you crouch, and then you can click it in and hold it, and you lie down. Crouching is good for creeping up on people. You make a bit of noise when you're going around running. If you slow down, crouch, and you can adjust this to go as slow as you want, and you make barely any noise. Metal staircases are notoriously loud. You can crouch and just go the slowest you can, and you make barely any noise. You see a lot of people use crouching when they're in a gunfight. You're in a gunfight and you're shooting each other. Someone starts shooting, and then you can lie down while you're doing that. It's much harder to get consistent shots on you. Another thing with crouching and lying down is your idle sway, so how much your reticle moves in the middle of the screen. You can see, I'll put it on, that's on the dead center. You can see how much that is moving when I'm not pressing anything. Now if I lie down, the idle sway is much better. It's barely moving at all there, which will also help with your recoil. Another helpful thing for recoil is mounting. If you come near an object like this, aim down sights, you can see it pops up circle to mount here on PlayStation. If I mount, my idle sway will be much better. Regular recoil, that was 30 bullets. And mount it. Nearly twice as good, much easier to control as well. You can mount all sorts of objects, so you can mount walls, containers, anything. Even boxes like this you can mount. And windows are particularly helpful. You can mount the side of a window. You can mount a ledge. You can mount like bales of hay and some rocks in Warzone as well. And the good thing about mounting too is if you have a fair idea somewhere where someone is, but you don't want to peek out to mount, you can kind of come up to a corner. You can't be shot here. And they're quite far away, in fact, and you can press mount from there and you'll snap on, and if you've got the reticle in the right spot. So while you're running, click the crouch button to slide. It's much harder to be shot when you're sliding, but it's also a good way of getting around the map. You can slide in behind objects. The movement seems to be better generally while you're sliding or jumping. So you see it takes me this long to spin around when I'm standing still, whereas if I jump and turn, I seem to be able to turn much quicker. Same goes for sliding. This is handy for sliding around a corner and shooting an enemy. If you know there's somebody around this corner, you can just pop out, you know. One thing to be wary of if you're lying down and shooting, if you're near something, like say this barrier, if I lie down here, I can't, that's as far as I can turn to the left because I'm catching the wall, so I'd have to walk out here. Ordinarily, you would have clicked in your right analog stick to melee. Because we changed it to the right analog stick, it's now circle. So, circle to melee. 2 hits with a weapon kills in Warzone. And if you've got your bare fists, I believe it's 4 hits to kill. Melee is quite handy if someone sneaks up on you, especially if you've got a long range weapon and someone pops up around the corner. You can just whack them a couple times rather than trying to ADS, especially if you've got a sniper or a rocket launcher or something like that in your hand. By the time you would have changed guns, they've gotten shots off on you. So doors. Doors are very important in Warzone. You walk up to a door, press square, you see on PlayStation to open it. It's quite easy. Square to open the door, square to close the door. Now if you ADS, aim down sights, and press square, you peek door, it opens very slowly, quietly. And then you can just walk the door in if you want, walk it back out, you can walk it to whatever position you'd like. You can also sprint through a door and slide through a door. But you can't jump through a door for some reason. I don't know why they've chosen that. You have to wait till it lands to get in the door. You can also melee a door. This works when you're crouched as well. This is handy now. If you think there's someone right here, you can just melee, shoot. They won't be expecting you to be lying down. Another thing too is if you think there's somebody behind the door, or if you think there's an explosive behind the door, you can chuck an explosive at the door and it will blow it open. And when you blow it up, you can shoot or throw another explosive in. On PlayStation, it's X to jump. It's also X to climb over objects. You have all sorts of objects. There's some things in the game that are only accessible by jumping. You can also climb through windows, climb through holes. I do find it sometimes inconsistent with jumping. So you can see here, look, I'm trying to jump here. Sometimes you'll be trying to get up on something and it won't seem to be working. When that happens, I find if you just step back and take more of a run at it, it works. Windows in Warzone, you go up to a window. If you're looking out through a window, it's kind of harder to see you if the window's intact. You can smash it with a melee. You can jump through it. It's good to get out on the ledges like this. You can also shoot through windows. If you suspect somebody's in a house and the door is closed but the window's open, it's a good way to get through the window. You don't make the noise at the door. You can crawl around. You can also throw explosives through windows. So, gliding. So a good rule of thumb for getting around the map is these grid line squares. From jumping out of the airplane height, you can get across one of these pretty easily without redeploying. Maybe 1.5 depending on how high you are. You can see for me, X is to jump out of a plane. And once I'm floating for a couple of seconds, I get the option, it'll pop up. X to deploy parachute. So you float. If you want to go somewhere far away, you keep the parachute out. If you're going somewhere like relatively far away, you can cut. Let the speed on the right there go up to 30 or so, and you can just keep cutting and deploying. When you cut, you can shoot your gun in the air. You can also melee, funnily enough. You can't throw explosives. You can, however, reload your gun. Now, if you want to land somewhere, I recommend aiming slightly ahead of it, because once you pull your parachute, you shoot forward a little bit. You can also smash through windows. Didn't work. Some buildings like this I could jump off and I would actually live. I wouldn't die from this height. But if the building was a little bit higher or very tall like those, you can redeploy at any time if you're high enough. And also, you can walk off and deploy, but if you take a run and jump, you'll get ever so slightly further. I also recommend when you're trying to redeploy, if you're leaving it till the last second, hammer that X button, hammer the redeploy button, because every now and again you'll press it and it won't work and you'll just smash into the ground and die. Another thing in Warzone, you've got a little menu. If you press down on the D-pad, you can go across to these. You can drop some of your money. Triangle will drop a little bit. Square drops a lot. Same goes for everything else. If you drop a couple of guns, you can drop the whole lot. You can also drop whichever gun's in your hand. This is particularly handy if you're trying to get out of a storm and you're running particularly slow, because maybe you've got a sniper rifle and an LMG. You run much slower. So you could just drop that, then you got your fists out and you can run much faster.